Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. The price of Bitcoin is $77,591. That's down about 1% in the last 24 hours, with a high of 80,900, a low of 77,400, and a last of 77,640. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is shockingly up today, up 1.31%, around 495 points, at a last of 38,461. However, the recovery of the Dow has not meant the recovery of Bitcoin and the altcoins. Bitcoin down 1% in the last hour, around 0.3 in the last 24 hours, and still suffering from a 9% loss over the last 7 days. Ethereum, about the same, down 2.5% in the last hour, 3% in 24 hours, and a whopping 22% in the last 7 days. Ripple still down 13% over 7 days. Binance Coin down 10% over 7 days. Solana down 19% over 7 days. What's happening in the stock market? Why is it up? It turns out that investors have a case of FOMO. They think that the stock market's going to come back and they want to be with it. The thing that caused their case of FOMO today? Responses from Japan, as Japan is attempting to negotiate down President Trump's tariffs. And this may lead to, as we discussed yesterday, there are two potential strategies here. The first strategy, which they've publicly addressed and adopted and said is their strategy, is that they mean for factories, brick and mortar factories making widgets with low-paying jobs. They want them back in the United States. We all know you can't move a factory in a week. You can't move a factory in a month. It might even take 2 to 4 years to move a factory. So if these tariffs are going to go away in a week or a month, you're not going to move your factory. This means that the administration's goal of having factories move is still incredibly unlikely. We've seen further cracking in this factory plan as the administration is allegedly negotiating with Japan to lower the tariffs. This means that the tariffs are likely a shakedown, and what we're going to see is a series of country-by-country deals, which, as they mentioned on the news yesterday, the market will not like. The market does not want to sit around and wait while we redo every deal with country after country while the tariffs are on. Naturally, if they'd accepted the 90-day freeze as offered by the fake Bloomberg account yesterday, they could have done these tariffs without wrecking the market. They could have negotiated with these countries and just said, we will raise the tariff in 90 days if you do not negotiate with us. Instead, they raise the tariff, they wreck the market, and now they are allegedly negotiating with individual countries, which theoretically, and I don't know how it goes, means that the stock market is back and everything is fine. Health insurance stocks are soaring. We've also had, here it is, just Tuesday rally reminds investors that the FOMO never goes away. And basically at the slightest whiff of good news, people come roaring back because that fear of missing out never goes away. It's always there. No one ever wants to miss a rally. And we've seen some of the usual suspects like Apple and Tesla rising, Nvidia is well up as well. Are we out of the woods? I don't think so. But it does seem like the Trump administration is negotiating with countries, meaning that this is a short-term shakedown rather than a long-term attempt to rebuild factories and manufacturing in the United States, which means they're lying, but maybe they're lying because it's a good negotiating tactic. Let's give them that. Meanwhile, on the other ends of the tariff spectrum, China has vowed to fight to the end against the latest Trump tariff threat. Beijing accuses the U.S. of blackmail and adding a mistake on top of a mistake as Wednesday's deadline for latest levies looms. 3 points for that one. Yes, the Chinese people are unhappy because we've tariffed them. As I said earlier, just a minute ago, we could have just negotiated with them. Instead, we tariffed them, then we negotiated with them, which, like they're saying, is blackmail, which is also what I suggested, but I suggested it in the nice way, where we talk first. The Trump administration's more like they got the gun out and held it to their head. And then they said, let's make a deal. That always works well. Again, the tariffs on China were 50%. China then responded with a reciprocal 50% tariff back on us. As they say, a mistake on top of a mistake. They're likely referring to the fact that so far, the best information we have is that the formula that they used, perhaps developed by ChatGPT, shout out to ChatGPT, quadrupled the tariff. So if you were supposed to get a tariff of 10%, you got a tariff of 40%. This is obviously incredibly crushing, likely drawing people to the negotiating table. And if we do the negotiations instead of the long-term factory building thing, who knows? Maybe we'll be okay. I don't know. We've also got bad news from the Supreme Court. The 5-4 decision over the exporting people from the United States without due process. Normally, back in the day when I was a kid, the Supreme Court would decide something important like this. You'd want to see an 8-0 decision. You'd want to see a 7-1. The justices would argue it out and come to a consensus together. That's not what we're seeing in the modern age. We're seeing 5-4, which means that if Justice Roberts changed his mind, all of these people suddenly have rights. Instead of giving these people their rights and the right to protest in the Washington, D.C. court where the actions against them are occurring, the Supreme Court has decided that these people should protest at home, at Texas, where they're picked up. As we know, the Texas courts are not kind to immigrants. If we go up a level to the appeals court in Texas, the fifth district, not kind as well. So it's going to be very difficult for them to receive any justice from these courts, something that the Supreme Court likely knows and is okay with. Sotomayor was fiery in her dissent and was even joined by Amy Coney Barrett, who sided with the liberals in this 5-4 decision. Again, 5-4 decisions are the worst things ever, because if Roberts, certainly none of the other conservatives are going to change their minds, but if Robert changed his mind, these potential immigrants would have rights, but they're not going to. And this is a big problem for you too, because if you're picked up on the street and exported to El Salvador, they say that they can't bring you back. So now we have a situation where citizens can be picked up without due process. Due process means they check to see if you're a citizen. They check to see if you're on the books. Instead, they pick you up, they put you in an airplane, they send you to El Salvador. They say that you've disappeared, you're not on the books anymore, and they can't bring you back. So this has gotten worse with the Supreme Court's decision. I haven't read it yet, but the Supreme Court also decided to overturn the judge's freeze on firing all probationary workers in the United States government, which would have saved the government a lot of money by not kicking out these already trained, already in their position people. But the Supreme Court sided against the people on that one as well. I just wanted to do a brief news update today. I'm going to go through and check the chat. So if you've got a chance to send me a question or a comment in the chat, do you think this is over? They're negotiating with Japan. Everything's fine now. Obviously, they haven't changed their public status, but if they are, again, using this negotiation tactic of the old threaten and then be the nice guy, it works fine for that. It's a good tactic. Looking at the price of Bitcoin, it looks like it's down since we've started this show. The price of Bitcoin is down 1.5% with a last of 77,395. That's $1 for 1,293 Satoshis, just on the other side of the 1,000 Satoshi barrier. We had a high of 80,901, a low of 77,315. As for some quick analysis, why are the cryptocurrencies not recovering as fast as the stock market? It's likely just people aren't there yet. People are saying, hey, maybe I can get a deal on Apple stock. Maybe I can get a deal on Nvidia or Tesla. One of these tech companies seem to be very hot and popular this morning. They're afraid that those companies will rally without them, that they will miss out on it. As of right now, there's not the same fear of missing out around cryptocurrencies. As we look for a risk-on situation where people say, hey, it's a good time to risk, it's a good time to be an investor, that's likely when they'll come to cryptocurrencies and they'll have the same FOMO that they have for the normal market. They'll say, wow, I can get Bitcoin at 77, maybe it's worth 100, get ETH at, God, 1480, maybe it's worth 1600, I don't know. But the same thing, they're trying to buy while it's low. They're trying to get back in on this. They're trying to say that They have this information about the Japanese deal before you do. Remember, it's going to take 24 hours for this information about the Trump administration allegedly changing their strategy and going to negotiations for these tariffs instead of keeping them on for the entire term to rebuild factories in the United States. So major shift there, but maybe that's just the way they want it. I'm going to check out the chat. I'm looking for the video, seeing if we're even online. I might be talking to myself. That's not so, for these tariffs. Not so different. Let's see. We've got Gurr in the chat. Is it over? Are we winning? Baxter is tired of winning. Again, I don't think it's over. The media is celebrating. The stock market is celebrating. We were in full crisis for 3 complete days and 2 days of weekend trading where there was no trading. And now it doesn't look that great, really. If you look at it right here, the market jumped right away up 39,181, hit a height of around 39,420, dropped down to 38,689, a little bump, 38,925, and right now is sitting at 38,461, actually looking like it's kind of heading towards the previous close. So we might be going down again. But once again, the people have switched their mode. It's a little bit of FOMO. It's a little bit of risk on, and they're ready to get back out there and invest and gamble, basically. The casinos were quiet. The casinos are getting loud again. Baxter says that ChatGPT is the best coworker he's ever had. I agree with that. It's an incredible tool, incredibly friendly, useful, helpful, positive. You tell it just like an assistant, but you tell it like, do 500 more things, and just does them. It's not like an assistant where it's like, oh, that'll take me all day. That'll take me all week. It just does it. So definitely, if you're not checking out ChatGPT, check it out. It's free at first. If you want a model with memory, which is incredibly valuable, obviously, it's about $20 a month. If you want to do a lot of deep seek research things, I've only done a few. They want to charge you tons more for those. So they must be really good. Who knows? But thanks to everybody for joining us on this brief update. I just wanted to cover the markets, kind of finish out what we talked about yesterday and see how this is going to go. Again, to recap, if you're just joining us, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 1.31%, likely because President Trump is negotiating the tariffs with individual countries. Vietnam and Japan so far seem to be the first to negotiate their tariff down, which is a major shift in strategy. It means that they are, as of this information, which is the best we have now, that they are not going after the strategy of rebuilding factories in the United States, that this is just a shakedown on other countries, and maybe they'll be happy with a couple of percentage points and a better deal. Whatever they can do to settle this deal, to get us back on the capitalist growth train that is the stock market. If it doesn't grow, it goes down. And if it goes down, everything gets wrecked. Maybe this is it. Although, as I'm looking at it right now, 1 o'clock Eastern time, the market closes at 4 p.m. or maybe 5 p.m. Eastern time. It looks like we've got 3 or 4 hours left. And it does look like, in my opinion, we're trending towards the previous close. So we might even close underwater today. But it doesn't look like a large crash like the last 3 days. Baxter says, ChatGPT also won't stab you in the back like a coworker. Sounds like you've had some bad experiences there. You should have a ChatGPT help you out with those. I'm sure it'll say, you can learn to trust people if you blah, 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 and it'll have a bullet-pointed plan for you. It's amazing. It'll do a bullet-pointed plan for anything. It'll help you accomplish your goals. Check out ChatGPT. But thanks, everybody, for joining us. Not that much more to say, just kind of checking in with the markets, seeing how it's going. Be sure to give us a thumbs up down below. And stay tuned. If we're not back tomorrow, we will be back again on Friday for the Bitcoin group. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.